Hello, boys and girls. Well, Oztober must have been a bigger hit than I thought it was, because after those last videos went up, I suddenly got swarmed with packages that contained all this amazing new stuff, like all these lights, this new mic, this new camera, this amazing backdrop, this beautiful book right here. Oh yeah, and also there was this rather disturbing note that came with it. It was, time is dead. So whoever sent that to me didn't leave their return address, and they might be some creepy stalker fan who will slash my throat in the middle of the night. But that's not important right now. What is important is that we're going to spend the entire month of August looking at Alice in Wonderland adaptations. And why not? Seems only natural. Much like L. Frank Baum's Oz books, Lewis Carroll's Alice books have been foundational for children's literature and fantasy literature. But while The Wizard of Oz is as American as blue jeans and apple pie, Alice in Wonderland is as English as tea, biscuits, football, and having a pint at the Winchester while waiting for the inevitable rioting to blow over. Plus, L. Frank Baum was heavily inspired by Lewis Carroll's Alice books. That's right, if Alice hadn't gone to Wonderland, Dorothy wouldn't have gone to Oz.
And we wouldn't want that now, would we? Would we? Would we?
Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass are also in the public domain, so they have been adapted many, many times into stage musicals, comic books, video games, and of course, film and television. That's why I have chosen the month of April to review 30 film and TV adaptations of the Alice books. That way, all you aspiring storytellers can see what other artists have done with Alice over the years, and maybe you can get inspired to tell your own Wonderland story. So let's take a dive down the rabbit hole, paint the roses red, and nearly lose our heads over August in Wonderland! But first, a little history. Okay, look, if you don't want to learn things, you might as well leave now. We've got a long month ahead of us. Lewis Carroll was born Charles Lutwidge Dodgson on January 27, 1832, 5 years before Queen Victoria ascended to the throne. He taught mathematics at Christ Church, a constituent college of Oxford. Because the college was affiliated with the Anglican Church, he was also a reverend and therefore celibate. Dodgson's life was full of contradictions. He was an avid photographer, but he hated having his picture taken because he was so painfully shy. He was a mathematics professor and a poet, yet he had a terrible stutter and had a hard time speaking in public. He wrote about nonsensical worlds without rules and order, yet his real life was dominated by rules and order. The dean of Christ Church, Henry Little, had 3 daughters to whom Dodgson would grow attached. One of those girls, Alice Little, was the inspiration for the character Alice in his books. However, despite the name and some similar character traits, the two looked nothing alike. One particularly hot summer's day, Dodgson took the Little girls for a boat ride on the River Thames. He was an excellent storyteller, and the girls begged him to tell them one of his stories. So Dodgson told them a story about a young girl named Alice who went on strange adventures underground. Thus, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was born. Dodgson wrote under the pen name Lewis Carroll because he valued his anonymity so much. He eventually committed his story to paper in 1865, when Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was first published. It was followed by a sequel novel, Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There, in 1871. Both books achieved popularity and critical acclaim in the years that followed. They are routinely praised as some of the best examples of children's literature, fantasy literature, and Victorian English literature in general. With the advent of moving pictures at the turn of the 20th century, Alice in Wonderland made its cinematic debut as early as 1903. It's one of the earliest films made in the United Kingdom that still exists. At only 9 minutes and 35 seconds long, this adaptation would nowadays be considered a short film. And because it's so short, the film itself feels more like selected highlights from the book rather than a complete narrative. But with the very first movies that were made from the 1890s to the 1910s, that's something you have to expect. Movies weren't considered a fully fledged art form yet. They were rather considered curious sideshow novelties. Despite how primitive this film is, there are still some very impressive things about it, such as the growing and shrinking effects on Alice. It's amazing how a film from 1903 can pull off the illusion of a girl changing size better than a lot of later adaptations did. This film is public domain, so it's readily available if you want to check it out for yourself, but as you can see from these clips, the film itself has deteriorated horribly. In fact, only one known print of this film survives, but thanks to the the hard work and dedication of the British Film Institute, it has been preserved and restored as much as possible given how old it is. So yeah, Alice in Wonderland adaptations were there practically from the dawn of cinema, and this wasn't the only silent film adaptation. Stay tuned tomorrow as we're going to be looking at another one, this time from 1910 from Thomas Edison Studios.